Well, hey there, folks. Guess what? This is it. This is the last stop on the CybFest Northwest 2023 promotional tour. And I just wanted to take a moment and thank all of the folks who gave us airtime to help promote our 10th annual CybFest and help us spread the word. We greatly appreciate it. So with that being said, I want to thank the folks at Radio Free Cybertron and DIECAST for interviewing me, Ben, and Jamal about the show. I also want to thank Swerve's Bar for having me on. I was interviewed by Onyx, Kilobyte, and Clickbait about our human customs of going to conventions. And as a reminder, Swerve's Bar will be doing a presentation of their live roleplay D&D as a panel, so that's going to be super cool. Huge thanks to the excellent transmissions team, Charles, Jeremy, and Daryl, for having me on to talk about CybFest during their Rise of the Beast live stream. That was a ton of fun, and thanks to Jeremy, one, for the invitation, but also for giving CybFest all of those shouts out during their convention news segments. I also want to thank my good buddy Sean for making that amazing audio promo that you've heard making the rounds that also later became a video made by Liz. It's one of those convergences of, like, you know, a community and folks doing really cool stuff that just kind of started as a random idea in my head, and that's just where talent and community comes together, and it's just a terrific piece of advertisement that I'm very proud to have been a part of. I also want to shout out my buddy TFG1 Mike Blanchard, for featuring CybFest on the GeekCast Radio website. That's at geekcastradio.com, as well as for rolling our promo during recent episodes of All Things Transformers and The Pull Bag, respectively. Also, huge shouts out to my friends from AUTOPOD DECEPTICAST, Aaron, Ryan, and Caleb, for playing that promo during their most recent episode, Face of the Ninjaka, which also coincidentally happened to be Paul Eiding's last episode as Perceptor there. So kind of weird timing there. But thanks also to Ryan for giving us a few extra spins on that promo as well. And thanks to Michael Andrews, my Two Mikes, Two Furious co-host, for engaging with me as I talked about CybFest during our most recent episode on Sound and Fury, the Soundwave episode, introduction of Transformers Animated. That's a lot of fun, so you want to check that out. And I want to thank Gregor from 107.7 The End, our alternative station here in Seattle, for having me and Ben on his Nerd Talk segment to talk about CybFest. He's become a real friend of the show and friend of CybFest, so I'm always glad to kick it with that dude, and really appreciate spreading the word out on his platform. And finally, I would like to thank everyone who has joined me on my show on Mike Seibert Radio recently, Ben and Liz and Jamal, along with Magnus von Braun, Apollo, Severio, Jeremy, Lil Lego Formers, and Adam at Toy Box Heroes. Thank you so much for helping add more voices aside from my own to help talk about this thing that we're so passionate about, CybFest Northwest. I will provide links for all of these great shows in the hope that if you have not checked them out yet, that you'll give them a shot, as they gave us some of their airtime to help promote us. So the least we could do is help return the favor in kind, because that's how a community is supposed to work. It's not a competition, right? Anyway, I'm about to jump back up on the bus, but I will see you Saturday at CybFest. I will be hosting the panel room, plus I will have a table in the dealer room to check out. I'm very accessible and would love to meet you. And if you happen to have heard about CybFest through me or through my platforms or through any of the podcasts I talked about, please let me know, because it will absolutely make our day, because we did spend a lot of time putting the promotion into it, and hopefully that it left an impression on you as well. So that being said, let's roll that promo one last time, and then please enjoy my interview with our featured guest, Mr. Paul Eiding.
July 2023, the Pacific Northwest will be transformed. Don't miss CyberFest Northwest. Featuring special guest Paul Eiding. Panels hosted by Mike Seibert Radio Podcast. Robotics, contests and trivia, local artists and vendors, exciting raffle prizes, a Transformers experience by the fans, for the fans. Get your own exclusive Generation Zero transforming action figure. This Cybertronian festival features the Bumblebee Camaro inspired by the films. July 8th at Kent Commons Community Center. Immerse yourself in CyberFest Northwest. More at cyberfestnorthwest.com. cyberfestnorthwest.com. cyberfestnorthwest.com.
Cyber Radio, we're about to start the show. We talk about stuff and things, lots of guests in-depth interviewing. Mike Cyber Radio, it's nobody's favorite show. Movies, comics, video games, and TV. And we also can guarantee that it's not gonna be that funny. That's okay because the show is free, so crank the volume in your headphones. The podcast at last is starting. It's time for Mike Cyber Radio.
Welcome back to Mike Seibert Radio. I am your host, and thank you for joining us for this very special afternoon matinee live stream. We have a very special presentation for you here today in the lead up to CybFest Northwest. It's our 10th annual convention, and we're incredibly excited about it. We've been talking about it on the podcast for, probably at least the last month or so. But I just want to remind folks that CybFest Northwest 2023 is coming back to the Kent Commons Community Center in lovely Kent, Washington, about 20 miles south of Seattle. That will be on July 8th, 2023. Festivities start at 11 and we wrap up around 5. More information is available at our website, cybfestnw.com. That's CYBFEST.com. We've got an expanded dealer hall. It's the return of the children's play area. We have real life robots in the form of robotics teams. We've got the Bumblebee Camaro. Scotty's bringing his movie-inspired Camaro back. We've got artists, the transforming contest, the art contest, trivia, raffles, and so much more. But as you're watching the video, it's like, but you're not there by yourself, Mike. You have a guest, and we are so thrilled to welcome to CybFest Northwest our featured guest, the one and only Paul Eiding, and he joins me here for afternoon live stream. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here, my friend. I'm really looking forward to CybFest. It's been a while since I've been up to Seattle, and I've never done a con in the Northwest, so this will be my first time up there.
That's terrific. And we were chatting offline just a moment ago before we went live. The weather's going to turn out for you. I think it's the right time of year. You know, folks perceive that Seattle and the Pacific Northwest, it always rains, and we do have a fair amount of rain and gray. But this and the autumn time is my favorite time of year. I love the fall colors, but I love this spring summertime where it's sunny and warm, but not hot. It's very temperate this time of year.
I'm looking forward to it. And I'm usually down here in LA. It's usually pretty hot by now, but it's not been. It's been really lovely. Cool in the mornings and not terribly hot in the afternoon. But it's going to get there. July, August, it gets unbearable. So to get away up to Washington, I'm a happy guy.
Absolutely. So you had mentioned that this is your first time coming to the Seattle area, the Pacific Northwest, for a convention, but I know you've done other conventions. Like I've met you at a TFCon before. Right. I know you've done several other types of conventions, but do you make your way out to smaller shows like CybFest? Like CybFest is like, we call it a convention, but basically like we're very humble and modest. We're having it in a gym. In fact, the highlight of our 10th annual show is that we're opening both sides of the gym to have an expanded dealer room. We're very proud of our little show, but we also know it's a intimate little show with an emphasis on community. We're very family friendly. So I guess one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is like the different types of conventions that you go to, or if you make it out to smaller shows like us.
I do indeed. I've gone to smaller ones in Kansas City, in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was also a Transformer-centric. Sharticon, a pretty small show in the middle of the country, a couple of times, different shows. I have a good time wherever I am.
Yeah.
The ones that I really like are the ones where they're not massive. You don't have a line of people standing for 2 hours to meet you, because I'm famous for rambling. I'm famous for spending time talking.
Me too, my friend. We're in good company.
As far as I'm concerned, that's what the cons are all about meeting people and talking and developing relationships. At some of the larger expos, I've done a lot in Australia and New Zealand and the UK. And when you have a massive people waiting, I have handlers constantly telling me, hurry up, move them along. And it's terrible. If someone's going to be standing there, I know it ends up making people wait longer, but if people are going to wait that long, I don't want to just say, hi, how are you? Here, take this. No, I want to say hi. I've developed a lot of relationships, a lot of friendships at the different conventions that are now friends, that have been friends for years. In fact, there's a gentleman from the Seattle area, Randall Ng. Randall, I met him in 2010 at a BotCon. It was actually my first convention down in Orlando. And we've been friends ever since. Not just friends, he also set up my fan page. He does so much for me. He's just a good guy. He's a good friend. And that never would have happened had I not gone to a convention. I didn't go to conventions early on when my daughters were small. Mm-hmm. But once they were in college and they were out, then it's like, okay, now it's time for me to go out and meet folks.
Mm-hmm. Randall's an awesome guy, and it's interesting how it's a small world. So like he lives here locally in the Pacific Northwest. I met him at another small convention, a Renton City Retro, where he was there having a table, and we were just chatting. And I know him from his digital artwork and all of those videos, the Energon O's and the Gangnam Style videos, and those are some of my favorite bits of Transformers nostalgia. I just terrifically creative, and the voice work is hilarious. And I got to talk to him about that. And I've always told him about CybFest, our little convention here in Kent. And he's like, yeah, one of these days I'll make it out. And when we announced that Paul would be joining us, he immediately messaged me. He's like, Paul is such a great guy. You're going to have such a great time with him. And it's like, oh, by the way, I designed his website and I've been working with him. I'm like, and I had no idea those connections were there. So, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the Transformers fan community is it really is kind of like that ride at Disneyland. It's a small world after all, and we're all connected by these love of transforming robots and it's just great times.
I'm always amazed at the talent out there in the fandom, either the writing, because we do a lot of script reading at the different conventions, and the writers and people like Randall and Dr. Smooth, who does the voice for his videos, just amazing talent. And Randall especially, he blows me away. As you can tell, I'm definitely a fan
Mm-hmm.
of Mr. Randall Ing. I'm hoping he comes over.
I'm really hoping so. He when he messaged me, he said something like he might have a couple other things going on, but he's definitely going to try to pop in if he can. It would be lovely to see the two of you guys together. Just for this fan, that would make me happy.
Yeah, me too.
So we jumped in and just kind of got ahead of ourselves, for folks that may not have met Mr. Paul Eiding before. He's an actor and mostly known for voiceover roles, including Colonel Roy Campbell from the Metal Gear Solid series, which is always a cultural touchstone for me. Like I was a gamer in my early 20s, and Metal Gear Solid was my thing. But what I discovered though is I wasn't especially good at it. So I got to hear a lot of those game over screens. So it's like so all I hear is like the chirping of the codec, and all I hear is just I hear Paul, and it's like Snake, are you there? Snake. Yeah. It's just one of my favorite things. So
listen, I've done that a few times at conventions. I've told the story. I was doing a convention in, I think it was New Zealand, and sitting beside me signing was Charles Martinet, who's the voice of Mario, all the Mario games. Okay,
right.
And he'd be sitting next to me, and when he finished his signature, he would finish it with a flourish, and he would always go, "Ooh, ooh, ooh."
Oh my God!
He would go higher.
Yes, of course.
Everyone, and I was sitting there, and by the end of the day, it was like, okay, enough with the hoo-hoos. I mean, the kids were loving it. Everybody was.
I would imagine.
He's a great guy. And then someone came along and said, "Can you do the game over? Snake, snake, and then yell." And I said, "Yeah, I will." But I warned the little kids who were nearby. I said, "I'm going to yell. I'm going to really yell really loud." So, but I didn't tell Charles. And when I did the Snake, can you hear me? Snake, snake. And when I screamed it, Charles literally left his seat. It was one of those things. And I could not have been happier. And I told him, I said, that's paying you back for all the woo-hoos all day long. And I've done it. It's a couple of people, I don't know where they were, I think it was Australia. They use that as their ringtone. And they said they have to make sure that they pick up before the last one.
Oh, that's terrific. I love it to have it timed out, because really like the codec signal is almost kind of like a ringtone. I mean, it's literally a ringtone. So yeah, I can imagine that picking up your mobile. It would be like, Snake, are you there?
Yeah.
I love it. But most fans joining us here today know you as Perceptor from Transformers Generation 1. And I have a confession for before we get too much further. I'm sure you have met a lot of Transformers fans over these 40 years. I mean, my goodness, next year it's going to be 40 years celebrating Transformers. And a lot of folks like Transformers the movie, right? And a lot of folks like your performance. Transformers the movie, regardless of Transformers fandom or whatever, is my favorite movie. I saw it when I was 7 years old, and I was just gobsmacked. It just, for all of the things that fans have been telling you for so long, all of those things apply to me. It ignited my imagination in a way that I hadn't seen anything like it. Like, you hear Frank Miller talking about how he saw the 300 Spartans, or you hear Flint Dille talking about how he saw the Alamo. And Transformers the movie for me was that kind of a seminal experience. And I always liked Perceptor. He's there's a little piece of his character that I carry with me. We were talking about rambling earlier, and I have a taste for verbosity. You know, it's like, why say something in one word when 12 will work? And some of my friends, particularly at work, find themselves being like Ultra Magnus, kind of tapping their fingers impatiently. It's just like, just kind of get to the point. I joke with my audience that brevity is not my first best strength. And for good or ill, I always point back to Perceptor and your performance of that. It really left that mark of, you know, kind of like, for lack of a better term, like higher level vocabulary, or just like, you know, just being more loquacious and elegant. And I just, so that character always resonated with me. So before we got any further, I wanted to share that with you and just say thank you for your contribution and being such a significant part of that movie and this franchise that has meant so much to me and so many other folks.
Oh, I'm honored. I'm a very lucky man to been. I was one of the young guys when I got out, when I auditioned for the Transformers, and I was working with people that I had listened to for years. And when I got there and started working with these people, it's like I was in heaven, you know? Okay, you got to act with me. See if you remember this. Okay, ready? Cursory evaluation of Decepticon capability indicates a distinct tactical deficiency.
In other words, Perceptor?
We're outnumbered.
Right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I love those exchanges. I like the interplay between that trio of Perceptor, Springer, and Ultra Magnus. Like Springer's like the middleman that like always translates.
Right.
And it's my understanding that there was like more of that in earlier versions of the script, that like that was like an ongoing thing. I think we got enough in the finished film, but yeah, it was. I've since read some earlier versions, and that's like an ongoing joke. And there's a part of me that would really like to have seen that.
It would have been lovely. I would have liked that. By the way, I just said something about when I auditioned, and this fellow who he lives on the next block from me, and he said, "I just found something that you might be interested in." I don't even know this gentleman. He knows me. I think I've met him once. I could not tell you his name.
Okay.
But I was out in my yard doing something out in the front, and this man, he was Kanban on his bicycle, and he said, "You're Paul, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Transformers, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I've got something that I think you'd be interested in." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Don't go away. I'll be right back." He went home on his bike, came back on his bike, and he had 3 scripts from 3 scripts and this, which is, I don't know if you can see it. What it is my original audition sheet.
Oh my goodness.
When I auditioned for Perceptor. It's the actual sheet with Wally Burr's notes on it. It's a copy of it now.
Sure.
It says Carl Thompson tonight. I don't know who Thompson is. But he brought this to me, and he told me that, I wish I had heard about it. He went just the day before to an estate sale, and it happened to be a Wally Burr estate sale.
Oh my goodness.
And he got these scripts. He got some other scripts from other shows. And he said, I made copies of the scripts because I'm going to keep them, but I wanted you to have them because they had a Perceptor in them. And he brought me these, and it just blew me away.
That's terrific.
That's what he brought me.
That's amazing. Oh man, once the live stream video gets done, I'm going to have to go back and pause it and read the text on there. What a terrific artifact. That is so cool.
I'm going to I made copies, and I'm going to bring them to Kent, to CybFest.
Terrific. That's lovely. And again, CybFest Northwest 2023 is July 8th, 2023 at the Kent Commons Community Center in lovely Kent, Washington, just about 20 miles south of Seattle. Ticketing information is available at cybfestnw.com. And speaking of, you had mentioned that you had those items that you're bringing. What else are you bringing for folks to get autographed?
Just a bunch of new 8x10s. I'll sign anything they bring. I sign lots of different versions of Perceptor. If people want to look ahead of time, they can go on to streamily.com, and you can just type in my name, and it'll take you to the store there. You don't have to buy anything, but at least if you want to see what I'm bringing. And it's Streamily, STREAMILY.com, and in Paul Eiding. And that'll take you to, and you'll be able to see all the different pictures. I've got some brand new ones, which are fun.
I've been watching your site. In fact, I was looking for some, biographical information for the interview here. And I was like, wait a sec, he's got some new stuff here. This, like there's a terrific Perceptor and Colonel Campbell mashup print that I especially like. If you have one of those, I'm definitely going to get that from you for sure.
A friend of mine who is a fan of Metal Gear and Transformers and is also an artist is the one who did that for me.
In fact, I think I could do a screen share here and show folks what that looks like. Give me just a moment here. Yeah, there we go. That's what that looks like. It's a little small, but yeah, it's a really neat pick, and I think for fans of your work on both of those characters, and as well as you have like tons of other collages with all of the myriad of characters that you've voiced as well. I also put a link to your Streamerly shop in the show notes, so like folks watching on YouTube or on Facebook can click on that link and go through and see the cool stuff that Paul has. So like if you're not able to join us in Kent for CybFest, feel free and grab something, and he'll autograph it for you. That's awesome. So I see now in the chat that I have a lot of listener questions that I would like to blaze through before we wrap up. But before we get to the listener questions, there's one project of yours that I would like to spend a moment talking about, and it's the short film that you starred in, Frank and Emmett, which I know it's been around for a while, but I happened to watch it, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago, again, in preparation for this discussion. And I was incredibly moved, and it's very touching. So I didn't want to necessarily leave a conversation with you where we're talking about voiceover work and Transformers and all of that other stuff without having the opportunity to touch on this lovely piece of work. Can you tell me more about Frank and Emmett?
You bet. It's one of the things I'm most proud of. It's only a 12-minute film, but it was written and directed by a gentleman who was the head of animation at DreamWorks. Mm-hmm. And he's always been a fan of the Muppets and the Muppeteers, the gentlemen and the ladies who have worked those Muppets all those years. And it was kind of an homage to those guys who are a dying breed. Mm-hmm. And it's about a man telling his partner of 40 or so years that the partnership is ending, and this partner happens to be a Muppet, and it touches on a lot of different things. And when I first got the audition for it, it was right at the beginning of the pandemic, mm-hmm. So everything had to be online, and I got it from my manager. And said, do you want to audition for this? It's just a short film. And I read the script, and immediately knew who this guy was. I knew that I knew what his imagination was like. I knew that he could relate one-on-one with a puppet or an inanimate object. I just somehow he touched me, and then and that was before I saw the puppet. And then we started having callbacks all on Zoom, and I met the director. He didn't know who I was until he saw my work, and they had already hired a puppeteer who worked with the Muppets, and a brilliant Brian Jones, just a wonderful, wonderful man, who also did the voice. And then he went to my IMDb page, the director did, and said, "Oh my God, I didn't realize you did all these things, and I know all of these things. I didn't realize that was you. You could have done the whole thing." And I said, "Well, I couldn't have done the puppet work because it was just brilliant." And Brian, who does the voice of Emmett and the puppet work, I think is brilliant. And they had two guys who worked with Brian and another gentleman who worked with Jim Henson's group. I think they did a lovely job. I loved the piece. It played at a lot of different festivals, won writing and different awards, performance awards. And we were Oscar qualified, which meant that we made it that far. Mm-hmm. But obviously didn't get an Oscar. Didn't make the last, 8 or 10 that they went with. But it's still very, very happy with it. And it's about partnership and about when one person thinks that they've created somebody else's life, you find out that no, it was more a group effort. I don't want to give too much away.
Right,
so that's
right.
why I'm hemming and hawing. But if you have a moment, if you have 12 minutes, watch it. It's on my YouTube channel, and it's really. I'm at the point now. I'm far enough away from it that when I watch it, this is the same thing that happens to me in animation with Grandpa Max, with especially for Perceptor, and with Metal Gear with Colonel Campbell. When you get far enough away from the piece, it's no longer you. It's that entity, whatever that entity is. So when I'm watching Frank and Emmett, Frank isn't me. I know he is because it's my body, it's my voice, everything else. But I'm far enough away that it affects me, and I can't watch it without tearing up. And it's not I don't mean that as a, my gosh, he's really a wonderful actor. It has to do with the mood that has been created.
Yes.
And the writing.
Mm-hmm. It's incredibly sweet. I was really struck by it. So I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, it's a lovely piece, and I think that fans of your work who might not have found this project otherwise, I really hope they find it and check it out. So that's Frank and Emmett, a delightful short film starring Mr. Paul Eiding, who is our guest, and again, Paul will be our featured guest at CybFest Northwest, January 8th at Kent Comets Community Center in Kent. And as we get closer to wrapping up the show here, because we have home improvement projects and all kinds of other cool stuff to do, but I had a number of listener questions in the chat. My buddy Nick he was watching it, just stacking the chat, and I have a couple other listener questions as well. I would like to start though with let me see if I could bring this up on the screen here. Give me just a moment to do a screen share. That way everybody can read it, hopefully, possibly a little better. But this is from my buddy Anthony Brucali, who is the host of Transformers University podcast. He's the owner-operator madman of TFU.info, the longest-running transforming toy archive website. And he has two questions here. The first one is, you Paul, you once appeared on the show Perfect Strangers as a character named Walkie Talkie, Speaker of the Hut. What was it like being on that set, and what was the chemistry like with that cast?
It's funny because my daughter just found that about 3 weeks ago.
Oh no!
She found it. It was on YouTube, and it was great fun for a couple of reasons. Number one, the guys were nuts. My character was great fun. Everybody got to use these terrible accents. And the guy who was playing, only one or two people who've seen the show and now will know what I'm talking about. It was basically a ripoff of Weekend at Bernie's, where Bernie is dead. So these two guys they don't want anybody to know that he's dead. So they have to walk him around. They put sunglasses on him and they move him around and act like and wave his arms and stuff to make people think that he's alive, but he's actually dead. And the person who played the ruler of the country was an old friend of mine that I hadn't seen for a long time. We worked together in Minneapolis, Minnesota for many, many years. So to get on the show and find out that he was playing that dead character.
Oh no!
That they got to throw around. It was just it was an added treat. So I had a great time working on the show.
That's awesome.
I love it when people find these on camera things and say, "Oh my God, I didn't realize you did this." There's a movie. No, I'm sorry. It was a series called Providence. And if you go to Providence and find, oh my gosh, I think it was a Halloween show. And I think it was called Things That Go Bump in the Night. And I played a gentleman, just a sweet, innocent guy who was there because he went to the hospital because he needed to get some blood.
Mm.
And they said, why? He said, well, because I'm a vampire and I don't want to hurt anybody. So I need blood. But if I don't get blood by midnight, I'm going to die. And then they have to deal with me. And also on the show was, oh my God, I can't remember his name. Another voiceover actor that I didn't know he was a voice actor. He didn't know I was. We were just on camera acting. Oh God. Things That Go Bump in the Night. Look it up because it's a lovely show. A Halloween show, and I'm an innocent vampire.
I love that. I'm gonna have to check that out. That's and I don't want to steal any thunder from my CybFest co-conspirator Ben. He let me in on a delightful conversation the two of you guys had about the Charmings, and I'm sure he's going to bring that up during our live Q&A panel that we'll be having on July 8th at CybFest Northwest. So we're doing this live stream now to kind of give folks a sneak preview of what it's going to be like to chat with Mr. Paul Eiding, the voice of Perceptor, our featured guest. But we'll be hosting a Q&A panel hosted by Ben, and it's going to be a lot of this. So it's like we're gonna go through some of the questions we have online here now, answer as many as we can. But yeah, you're welcome to come in live on July 8th and ask Paul these questions as well as stop by his table and buy some autographs. And I know several of our artists have already made Perceptor theme art prints. Ben Hansen has a really cool Perceptor print, which I don't have in front of me. As we're chatting, if I can find it, I'll put it up. And it's really neat. But that being said, let's go back to the chat. Oh, Anthony had one more question. You were on a ton of classic 80s sitcoms, Golden Girls, Cheers, Who's the Boss, etc. Any memorable moments working on those shows that you could share?
No, it's all pretty boring. There are lots. One of my favorite is working on Golden Girls because that show plays over and over and over again. And most of my work, in fact, almost all my work was with Betty White. When you did that show, they had it working so well. It was like a machine. You get there, you have a name tag where you sit at the table for the first table read. Everything is set up. You have where your room is. Everybody does what they're supposed to be doing at that moment, and you felt that you knew you were visiting. Some shows, they bring you in and everybody gives you a hug. Hey, how you doing? Blah 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 blah. At this point of during the run, it was pretty much come in. Hi, how are you? Let's do the work. Move on. No one was mean or disrespectful, anything like that. It was just a different feel. But you knew that you were there visiting their house, except for Betty White. Betty White is everything that everything wonderful you ever heard. She was all over you, hugging you, giving you a kiss on the cheek, as sweet as she could be, and incredibly funny. So that's always been one of my big, to let people know that I got a hug and a kiss from Betty White. So that was a big one,
That's delightful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let's go to my buddy Nick in the chat, and I'll put these chats up on the screen. Probably a typical question that I have. I know Paul worked for a studio producing the voices, but does Hasbro and other companies ever sent him free stuff of the characters he does?
In a word, no. No, actually, the only company that has was Blizzard.
Oh.
I got a StarCraft when they did the major. It was a beautiful, beautiful piece that I ended up donating for a fundraiser at a con. I forget which con it was, but it was a smaller con, and they were doing a fundraiser. So I donated that, but it was a beautiful piece, and that's the only time. And that was the folks at Blizzard for StarCraft. Because I've done a lot of Blizzard stuff. I did all of the Diablos, Diablo, StarCraft, Warcraft, all of that sort of stuff. But that's the only. Let me make sure I don't want to. Nope, that's it.
Gotcha. Well,
so Hasbro, I'm still waiting.
Yeah, and there's a number of delightful Perceptor figures, some of which you've signed. There's new ones coming up. There's the new Studio Series 86 Perceptor figure, which it's a delightful figure. I love it so much. You're going to end up signing a bunch of those at CybFest.
It's very cool.
And they've recently announced that they're doing a Transformers the movie specifically themed reissue of the original Perceptor toy from the early 80s, but it's done in like Transformers the movie colors and stuff. Very similar to my podcast logo with like the orange and pink color fade there. It's very, very cool. It
cool.
Unfortunately won't be here in time before July 8th, but I'm sure I'll catch you at another convention and have you autograph that for me once I get it.
I'm just, I've got kind of irritated with the movie, at least the people who did all the promotion for the movie, because until recently, every poster that I've seen about the G1 movie, they're beautiful posters. Perceptors isn't in any of them. Just not. I sign them. People want you to sign here, sign there, and some of them are just gloriously beautiful, but no Perceptor. Until recently, there's a gentleman. I think he was in Australia. His name is Flory. Florey.
Yes.
He did I forget who he did it for. Did a new poster honoring the G1 of the movie, the Transformer movie. And he said, I had to add him. Because I contacted him on Twitter. I said, thank you. Somebody finally thought about Perceptor. He said, well, I love Perceptor. And why he's not in any of the posters, I have no idea. So just a little, irritated.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that entire... The original poster is puzzling in the character choices, but here's that Flory piece right here. And it's again, the screen share doesn't quite do it justice, but it's a delightful piece. I was fortunate enough to get the alternate version of this with the holographs on it. It hasn't arrived yet, but I'm really looking forward to getting it. It's very, very, very cool. And yeah, it's like to the fact where I can't even zoom on it, but I see a little microscope man over in the corner there. But yeah, what a delightful image. And that's, being a fan of Transformers the movie, I spent, as silly as it sounds, I spent a good number of years thinking I was the only one. I went through a period of time in my life where I thought I was the only one that liked this movie until I got connected with more folks in the Transformers fandom. And I'm like, I like Transformers the movie. And they're like, yeah, and who doesn't?
Yes.
I'm like, but I thought that made me special for a few, but
I think you're special, Mike.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So speaking of some of the other characters that you've lent your talent to, Nick asks, does Paul follow the characters that he has voiced in other mediums like comic books?
For a while I did, but then not really, to be honest. Like I did for a while, and then they made Perceptor cool. Gave him made him a sniper. It's like, okay, that's cool, but I never really stayed with it, to be honest. So no, sorry.
Speaking to your voice work in those shows, does Paul have an episode of Transformers where he talked to himself doing two different characters? Like I'm trying to remember if there's a episode where Perceptor is interacting with a Quintesson, and I'm just it's fuzzy. I can't remember.
I don't. Boy, oh boy, I don't know. Certainly not the face of Najika, because I became Najika. So no. And the Quintesson, I don't think I ever, because I recently saw the I don't remember what episode it was, but when I'm the Quintesson merchant describing why, that we were behind the wars and all the fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I'm at the beginning of that I'm in the same episode, but I don't think I talked to myself.
Gotcha.
I have other animated things. Of course, on Ben 10 I did, and other different shows, but no, not that I can remember. If you remember, let me know.
Yeah. Feel free to drop that in the chat or hit us up online later. Speaking of Quintessons, my buddy Alexis, Captain Alexis himself, what was the brief for the voice of a Quintesson? Like what kind of direction did Wally Burr give you?
Just be above everyone else, as snide and nasty as you could be, and I think that was a big thing. Know that you are more powerful and better than anyone else, any other race. That you are superior, and you're looking down your nose at all of them. That's basically what I'm. And just everyone is. God, I'm trying to remember. I don't want to just make it up.
Yeah, but
I remember that them feeling that you are superior. That everyone else are like rats to you.
Right.
No one is as important as you are.
It's kind of the flip side of Perceptor. Like Perceptor is incredibly intelligent, but he's not condescending. Whereas Quintesson is the opposite of
Absolutely.
that. Brilliant, but lords that arrogance over lesser beings.
Yes.
Let's see, what else do we got here in chat? Nick had posted, does Paul try to get out and enjoy cities he visits for conventions?
Absolutely. But the bummer is sometimes I don't have time to do that. I have a lot of fun when I do conventions overseas. Mm-hmm. Overseas, when they go to Australia, you usually do, they don't want to fly you over just for the weekend, obviously. So I'll go and I'll do one in Sydney, and then the following weekend I'll do one in Brisbane. So you have time. I have walked all over Sydney. I've climbed the Sydney Harbour Bridge. I've walked all over Brisbane because you have time to do that. And that's what it's all about. It's like, God, done the same thing in the UK because you have a few extra days. When I come up to CybFest, my wife and I we're staying a couple of extra days. We're renting a car. And we're going to drive around Seattle, look around Seattle first, and then we're going over to Squim to visit our in-laws, my son-in-law's parents. So yes, whenever possible, yes. I've been to Toronto and really haven't had the time to do it because usually you're in on Friday and you're gone on Sunday. So you don't have the time because most of the time, the day, I'm there.
Yeah,
at the con from opening to closing,
I was just gonna say in the case of TFCon Toronto specifically, it's out in Mississauga, so it's like it's not next to Toronto. It's like right. A half-hour drive or something like that. Like I've been to that convention. It's a delightful show. I mean, terrific folks, great convention scene. But the one thing it's not is local to town. Back in 2019, my wife and I did a trip where we spent time in Niagara Falls, and then we spent time in Toronto proper, and then ended that adventure in Mississauga for TFCon Toronto, which was a terrific trip. I would recommend that to anybody. But there are times where the city of name is not necessarily where you are, like TFCon Chicago, for example, is in Rosemount, which is not Chicago. So I've been to TFCon Toronto. I'm sorry, TFCon Chicago at least 3 times. I've never been to Chicago proper. Because I stay on campus, that kind of thing. That's just me.
and I'm actually doing TFCon Toronto the week after CybFest, and I'll be going up there. And again, I think they have me flying in on Friday early, so I can be there Friday evening, and then leaving Sunday night to get back because I'm working on Monday. So sometimes you don't have the time. I know I did TFCon. Where were we? It was outside of DC, and we made that work. We stayed in a couple of extra days, and you don't go to DC and not hang out for a while.
Exactly.
So whenever possible, absolutely. I mean, you get the feel of the area. Now I've been to Seattle, but never at it for a con. Mm-hmm. So this would be fun.
Excellent. Well, we're really excited to have you. And again, that's going to be CybFest Northwest 2023. It's our 10th annual convention that's coming up on July 8th at the Kent Commons Community Center in lovely Kent, Washington, about 20 miles south of Seattle. Festivities start at 11 o'clock. More information is available at cybfestnorthwest.com. That's CYBFESTNW.com.
Right.
Paul, this has been an absolute delight. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. And before we part ways, is there anything that you have either currently going on or coming up that you would like to promote that fans watching might not be aware of?
Nothing I can talk about.
How
many times have you heard that? It's like, it's
often.
Like, the games I'm working. There's 3 games that I'm finishing up, and I can't talk about.
Gotcha.
I feel bad. Other than that, you're all invited down to look at the new shower and bathroom that you can't see the paint that I'm finishing up. Just trying to, just staying busy that way. And I'm also going, in September, I'm going out to RetroCon outside of Philly.
Oh, nice.
So, that's going to be fun. And that's pretty much it. Just staying busy, which is good.
I can appreciate that. It always beats the alternative. Am I right?
Yeah.
Paul,
The whole line is actors are generally always semi-retired. You're retired until your next gig. Luckily, I'm not retired.
I love that sentiment. And if folks wanted to connect with you online or on social medias, how can we find you on the internet?
I'm on all of them. I'm Facebook. It's just look for my name. I think Facebook. It's me as Colonel Campbell, I believe. And the number 4, Paul Eiding. Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. I don't use Twitter as much. It's just getting so hateful. And Instagram. Just look for my name. I'm there.
Perfect. Well, again, the one and only Paul Eiding, the voice of Perceptor and so many more. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for being gracious with your time, and we really appreciate you joining us, and we will see you in Kent, Washington on July 8th for CybFest Northwest 2023.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it, guys. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Have a terrific day. And that will wrap things up for this episode. Thank you so much for listening and for hanging out with us. If you want to listen to my podcast, Mike Seibert Radio, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. Like, share, rate, and review the show. Let us know what you like and what you'd like to hear more of in the future. For my guest, the one and only Paul Eiding, my name is Mike. This has been Mike Seibert Radio. And until next time, take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and make good choices. Mike Seibert Radio is recorded in Seattle, Washington. Our original theme song is written and performed by Lucia Fasano. Get her music on all streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, and check out her Instagram at Lucia_Fasano. Our closing theme song is A Nice Place to Visit by These Young Fools, used with permission from Michael Geisler. Check out Michael's website, bytormusic.com. Special thanks to Andy Lita for our logos and graphic design. He's at GoGoAndyRobo out on Twitter. Become a Mike Cybertronian and join the MSRP Friends and Fans Facebook group. And you can follow me on all the social media at Mike Seibert Radio on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And check out my YouTube channel for even more videos and subscribe so you never miss a show. Want to be a guest on the show? Send me an email, MikeSeibertRadio@gmail.com.